Welcome to your daily dose of theological German. We are on installment number 9 of this book here, the Cult Theology of the Letter to the Hebrews, and we're way deep in the book, looking at a little chunk from pages 385 to 386, just in case you want to look it up. Let's get started. So kind of an interesting sentence today. I'm going to have to jump all over the place a bit here in the translation, but you'll see when we get back to the discussion what's going on. So Hebrews 10:22 refers to the reference, how good, refers to the reference from Septuagint Numbers 19 in Septuagint Ezekiel 36, 25, 27 with the formulation sprinkled hearts and with the mention of purified water. So what is going on with this sentence? And it's kind of confusing in a number of ways, but let's just work through it. We'll start with the main verb here, which says here nimmt. That is the verb nehmen. And so it's going to be written like this, if you can read this writing. Nehmen, which is pretty bland, usually means to take. And so you might kind of wonder, well, you're looking for something more to make a more kind of complex sense out of what's going on in this sentence. So you have to look at these prepositions, and so you have a couple of mit prepositional phrases here. I would say these are both going to be instrumental, though. And so then you get down here and you see this other preposition, auf, and so that's probably going to be more helpful to you. You might make the mistake, and you got to watch out for this, because you might be tempted to put that auf with the verb this way and treat it as a separable prefix, and to use the verb aufnehmen, which semantically, because of what aufnehmen means and how it works, you wouldn't end up necessarily with a wrong translation, because it's very similar in meaning. However, that's not really technically correct, because you'll see here there's this accusative noun immediately following that preposition auf, and so you know it's a preposition, because separable prefixes for the verbs actually have to go to the very end of the clause. They don't come before a noun like that. And you can read about that in April Wilson in chapter 13, or whatever grammar you're using, just look for the chapter or section on separable verb prefixes, and you should find something about that there. So then you're looking, saying, okay, well, what's this other thing down at the end of the clause here then? Because maybe that's a separable prefix. And so you might be tempted to say there must be a separable verb, bezug nehmen, and you might want to try to look that up. However, you won't find it, because that's not a verb prefix, and there is no such separable verb. And so when you look it up, you just find out that bezug is really just a noun. And so that's fine. Let's see what it's going to mean for us. Well, it's doubly confusing because it has this bizarre semantic range where it can mean anything from, a pillowcase, a covering, or strings for a violin, or something you bought, or a subscription. So it kind of gets a little confusing. You do eventually get down to here where you start to see things like reference, which is the kind of semantic area that I was in when I translated this. But the key here is to notice that sometimes bezug will work with the verb haben or with the verb nehmen and the preposition auf. And this is critical, auf, with a accusative object for that preposition. And in those cases, it means to refer to. And so what's going on here? Because you'll notice that there is no uppercase letter here. And so you might wonder, well, this doesn't seem to be a noun. Well, what's happening? Well, if you take this and try to just deal with that as a noun and treat this woodenly, you could translate it something like this. You could say takes, and then make this your object. So takes reference, okay? And so you see that bezug can mean reference here, right? So takes reference to the reference, which is so now doubly confusing because Aufnahme is a compound noun, which is obviously very close in form to aufnehmen, this verb over here, and that noun means reference. So you've got synonyms going on here, which is not necessarily helpful. But let's see, takes reference to these verses. And so you can see how woodenly, okay, that kind of makes sense. And I think what's happened is because this becomes a kind of frozen form in German with that verb and that noun with then a complement to say whatever it is that's the reference, I think authors begin to treat it as if it were a separable prefix, and so it loses the uppercase beginning and it gets pushed to the end of the clause, whereas you might expect it to be somewhere else as the object of the verb. So it's kind of one or the other. Technically speaking, bezuk is the object, is the direct object. However, it's being deployed here in this sentence as if it were a separable prefix. And so that's kind of, I think, my educated guess anyways, as to what has gone on here. And then you have these other phrases which kind of give you the instrumental sense of what is the words in Hebrews 10:22 that's being used to make this reference. And so I hope that kind of clears up the sense of it for you, just in terms of what's going on in this particular text. And maybe we could just, I'll pick a different color here and translate this one last time so you can sort of see what's being actually said in this book. Hebrews 10:22 refers to the reference from Numbers 19 in Ezekiel 36:25-27. So the idea is that Ezekiel 36:25-27 is already referring itself to Numbers 19, and then Hebrews 10:22 is basically picking up the stuff from Numbers 19, but through the way it's already been referred to in Ezekiel 36:25-27. And the way Hebrews 10:22 is doing that is by deploying the formulation. So with the formulation, let's see here, sprinkled hearts, okay, and so that's terminology directly from those passages, and with the mention of purified water. So again, those are key terms in the Septuagint of Ezekiel 36:25-27, which Gäbel is saying are being used by the Hebrews author, to sort of get back at something in Numbers 19 by kind of mediating it through this other reference in Ezekiel 36:25-27. So in any case, I don't know if that's helpful to you, but hopefully the explanation of the German made sense. And please do leave comments and let me know what you think. As always, thank you for watching, and do please subscribe and like and share this with all of your theological German friends. And what the heck, even if they're not theological German friends, oh, let's just share it anyways. The more the merrier, I say.